Yes, Guyana to the world.
Globespan is a Guyanese dialogue moving towards the realization of one nation in one Guyana. It's a platform that offers an all-inclusive discussion with the pros, the cons, the ones that is taken aside, and the ones that stand in the middle. Globespan believes agreeing and disagreeing are part of the nation's building.
She is a beauty, beautiful Guyana, with wonderful people all over this country.
Globespan believes every Guyanese voice is part of the nation's building. As we span the globe for voices from the diaspora and those living home, we stand on our commitment that we are all Guyanese working towards one nation in one Guyana. As the world turns on its axis bringing changes, we as Guyanese must adapt to those changes for a better Guyana for all. Globespan stands on its axis with its belief that one nation, one Guyana, one destiny must include voices from all corners of Guyana.
With many flavors, 6 different people blended together. Raise your flag high in unity, we're family with one destiny. Raise your flag high in unity.
Good evening, everyone. And this is a special evening because tonight we have a very special program for you. And you'll be so happy that you tune into Globespan TV. This program is being made available by Mr. Noor Singh and our 2 technical directors, Mr. Ryan Gobin and Mr. Devin Bissoon. We can be heard live on YouTube and on Globespan. So you can tune in there to hear us as well. Just tune into Globespan 24/7. And you can pick us up on those 2 social programs. The views and opinions expressed tonight by our guests do not reflect those of the staff and management of Globespan Television. Tonight's topic is preparing Guyana's athletes for medals at the Summer Olympic Games. And the person who is best qualified to do that is none other than Mr. Godfrey Monroe, the president of the Guyana Olympic Association. Mr. Monroe, good night, sir. Well, your mute is on. Your mute is on.
Oh my, I'm sorry. Yeah. Good night.
And we're very happy to have you
Dr.
here.
Rose. Yes. A pleasure to be with you and your guests. Truly happy and elated for the opportunity to share what is happening in sports in Guyana and in the context of the Olympic Committee and everything, Paris and sports and all the plans that we have moving forward. So it's a great opportunity and thanks for extending this to me.
We greatly appreciate you coming on the program. Now, tell us a little background of yourself, because for our listeners to know who you are and how you're involved in sports.
Well, I've been involved in sports probably all my life. So I've played table tennis at the national level, national junior champion, national senior champion for table tennis, that is, Caribbean champion, Caribbean Grand Prix doubles, won several medals at the regional level, and then branched into administration of table tennis as Assistant General Secretary, then General Secretary, then President of the Table Tennis Association, and then my ascension to the Olympic Committee, of which I'm serving as President. I also served as Vice President of the Olympic Committee in the previous quadrennial. And as I indicated, traveled the world, played a lot of sport, so quite a lot of exposure. I've also had, in terms of academia, I'm a graduate of the University of Guyana and the University of Louvain. Did several theses in sports administration, and with a wide array of knowledge and experience in sports, served on several committees at the Commonwealth and other international committee levels, Pan American and so on. So I'm here today to share with you. Yes. So that provides a little background into who's Godfrey and so on. Quite passionate about sports and truly committed to ensuring that Guyana truly achieves its potential as we move forward.
Yeah, you have been immersed in sports, my gosh. But Ghana don't play lawn tennis, am I right?
Yes, they do play lawn tennis. There's now a new committee in place at the well, it's tennis now. It's not lawn tennis before. It is the Ghana Tennis Association because the ITF has now changed the name from lawn tennis to tennis because of the different surfaces. But there is a tennis association federation in place, and they're one of the 26 affiliate members of the Olympic Committee. And those committees would form in terms of basketball, football, rugby, karate, taekwondo, badminton, archery, table tennis, boxing, swimming, and the list goes on. So those are our affiliate members, and we're basically responsible as an Olympic committee for ensuring that the athletes there are, supported, represented at the Olympic Games, and provide other impetus through Olympic solidarity and Pan Am sports to help them in advancing sports and managing and coordinating sports.
So when it comes to sports, Ghana is fully involved in all different areas of sports. Now, Mr. Monroe, you have reached the top of something that is called the president of the Ghana Olympic Association. It's not the president of the Ghana football or the Ghana tennis, what it is, Olympics. This means that you embodied all the sports in Guyana. What are the process that one can be? Well, tell us the process then, how one can become the president of the Ghana Olympic Association, and for how long you'll be the president. It's a 1-year stint, a 2-year stint, a 4-year stint?
Well, the constitutional provision basically outlines how you can become, and actually, if I can share some tenets of that, it basically incorporates persons who should have a resume and acumen in sport, of good standing, integrity, no previous criminal records, obviously have a great degree of management and coordination skills, and some amount of leverage in terms of being able to articulate plans and proposals. It basically speaks to the coordination of thing in terms of the term limits. There's 3 term limits, which would be 4 years. My tenure started in 2023, which was being an abbreviated version because of COVID. Then we had a prolonged election period. We're waiting until the audit, the financials were completed. That was done so last year of April, sorry. I assumed the leadership of the Olympic Committee, and so far we've been doing a lot, and I'll be happy to share what we've done. I could say truly it's been a unique opportunity to share with some key members because a lot of the executive comprise members of the other national federations. There's 3 vice presidents, and they're all executive or presidents of their respective federation. That's Philip Fernandez, Steve Ninval, who's the president of the Boxing Association. Philip Fernandez is the hockey president. Christy Campbell, she's the president of the Tennis Federation, and also vice chair of the National Sports Commission. Mr. Ninval, who's also the vice president, is also the director of sport. We have Garfield Wilshire, who is of squash pedigree. Vidushi Prasad, who's the secretary general. She's the president of Archery Guyana. And we have Emily Ramdani, who's the president of the Badminton Association, and also Michael Singh, who's the president of the Basketball Federation. So a wide mixture of persons who are well versed in sports. So it makes it quite easy for us to work as a team, and we've been advancing several plans as we move forward because we find this as a quite unique period in which Guyana is placed. Before, not much wealth was available for us to invest in sports, and sports has had an investment truly in the context of Guyana. Lots of potential, as we said. One of the unique features I should share with you is that, we were able to qualify a lot of athletes in the Olympic cycle games in over 11 disciplines, which is quite unique. It shows, great participation in sports and a quite diverse range of sports that we compete in. But there's critical need for us to, put some key pillars, as we would want to call them, in terms of systems and structures in place as we move forward. And I believe now is the key time, with Guyana receiving its wealth and having the opportunity to invest much more finances in sports, because before there was a situation where the governments prior and even now had to choose before key priorities and so on. But now with this abundance of wealth, and I can say in this regard that we're doing that. We've embarked on some key projects at the micro, macro, and meso level to ensure that we create the systems and platforms for athletes to, achieve their truest potentials and win medals at the different games. Working in tandem with the government also, because they're a key stakeholder, and also ensuring that we work with our key partners, the Olympic Committee, the IOC, Pan Am Sports, ODASOR, which is the South American region, Central America, and CASCO, and the Caribbean Sports Organization, and every other entity that we could work with. And I'll love to share those plans in terms of what some of the key foundational things that we're doing, but I'll give you opportunity to.
Okay, that's very, very good. Now, the next question I have for you is this. Over the years, Guyana has always been sending a very small contingent of athletes, but I was told that this year it may be the largest contingent. How many athletes do you intend to take to France this year to participate in the Summer Olympics?
Well, I don't think so in terms of the largest contingent. At the Olympic level, we have not been able to have a huge contingent over the years. And like I mentioned, that was critical because we didn't have the systems in place and on the investment and priorities of sport in terms of finances. Government had to make key decisions, and there wasn't enough. But like saying this now is that we have that opportunity to lay the foundation. But to answer your question more directly is that we got two swimmers that will go. We have persons from the athletics community that will go, so probably about 2 or 4. We still have the boxers just concluded their qualification attempts, not successful, but we're hopeful that we'll get some tripartite positions, also from table tennis and possibly maybe taekwondo or archery. But the contingent will not be as huge this year in terms of the athlete representation. Again, as I said, because over the years we've not had the systems and structure, and understandably so, to make that investment. I could say, however, at the regional level, Caribbean, at the Commonwealth level, we've been able to have large contingents at the Pan American level, at the Central American level, at the South American level with good measure of success. Our only hurdle in terms of matriculating our athletes and achieving their fullest potential is the Olympic level, and that requires a lot of investment. As you know, each Olympic medal, and there's a formula that calculates that, costs over 124,000 US in a quadrennial. We've always had to be making decisions between, how we invest in sports and so on. But this gives me the opportunity to share with you some of the key plans that I believe will help us in this direction moving forward. And I'll be happy to also speak about the prospects for our athletes moving forward. But I want to be as pragmatic as we could to say at the Olympic Games, while we'll have key representation, I don't believe we have any medal prospects, but we go there, we'll participate with the vigor and vitality. I think the last Olympics, the Tokyo Games, our athletes represented well. Kevin Alcock in boxing, Chelsea Edgell, our sprinter Emmanuel Archibald, Alia Moore, and the likes gave a good representation of themselves. We've got a good nucleus of athletes within the realm of athletics, good quantity of boxers, like I said, and the 11 sports that I described to you are key sports, or let's say the core sports that we believe has the potential to really produce athletes. And, like I said, the government is also playing a key role now that they have the requisite resources to do so. But from the Olympic side, what we've been starting to do is looking at foundational programs, how we can tap into resources that allows our athletes to have the necessary resources, financial and otherwise, to be able to train and maintain a system or regimen of training. And in this regard, we found that in the past, we weren't maximally utilizing the IOC grant provisions, either for training of coaches, training of athletes, applying for key programs that would benefit coaches or athletes. And that was a key focus of this this executive committee. We've looked at also how we can collaborate with key agencies, because corporate sponsors are critical to this. And one of the key things we're currently comprising is a framework which looks at the revenue that we receive, where the gaps are, and to ensure that we can position ourselves as a lever to engage with sponsors to say, hey, here's a program that you can sponsor, here's an athlete that you can sponsor, here's where the gaps are in terms of where we need the support to help a national federation, help a national athlete. We're currently engaging with the IOC, and we've received funding to do a strategic plan. And this strategic plan will take us from the new cycle from 2024 to 2032. And this plan is being done by in collaboration with one of the key experts in the field, Mr. Lauren Torresilas, and the IOC is paying for that. And this will help us to look at some of our strengths, weakness, and the opportunities that are creating, how we should more prioritize our funding, whether or not the model that we're currently using as a wide base try to support each sport, or do we focus a larger percentage of our revenues on key athletes so that we achieve that Olympic mark. How do we collaborate with key sponsors? How do we find and market and communicate our programs? How do we, what type of medical inputs that we need? What type of scientific approaches do we need? And in this regard, we've started to engage with embassies. We started to look at how we engage with the ministries, because some of the key ministries have funding and programs that will, like Ministry of Health. There's the preventative maintenance in terms of, making more healthy and active lifestyles, sedentary type and non-communicable disease. How do we could partners with them through our affiliate members to be able to gather support in that regard. We're working with the Canadian company, with Sports Canada, to look at more foundational issue, and this is at the micro level, to say, look, our athletes and the academic norms within the realm of schools, from nursery school through to university level, are they achieving or having the right orientation to sport, the running, the throwing, the skipping, the agility, the coordination, and so on. That is critical. And we're soon to finalize the arrangement with that, working with UNICEF and the Ministry of Education to bring in an expert to train a series of persons that will now use a cascading model, master trainers, to develop the academic norms for students at the nursery, primary, and secondary level, in terms of, if a nursery school teacher takes out kids to play, they don't just put them in the yard to play, what exercises that you provided, so that they have the requisite psychomotor skills, so then when they come to the sport, they're, well coordinated, they have the requisite skill sets and muscle development to be able to, specialize and achieve their truest potential. And because those ages are where they're most adaptable, and this is following the long-term athlete development model. One of the key things we're also doing is partnering with the University of Guyana, and we've recently signed an MOU with the University of Guyana, which looks to see how we can tap into the resources there, because we see them as a key stakeholder. One, in building a nucleus of persons that will allow us to be able to serve back in sport with the requisite knowledge. And here we're speaking about from a pragmatic level, and having students do, and the university undertake to have their students do internships with association and affiliate members, work with us. And recently, through the Commonwealth Federation, we've recently hired intern, Mr. Deshaun Joseph from the University of Guyana, and he's helping us through the Equips program. He's helping us with several other projects in terms of the development of the website and so on. We're looking at the research aspect of engaging with the university. So from the natural sciences, students there, lecturers can sit and look at, studies that they can do in athletes, key phenomena in terms of, studying the movement of athletes, the strengths and weakness of associations, helping natural social sciences, how they can do a final year project in helping associations develop either a website or an accounting system or a project management system and crafting project management systems. These are all building the key structures to help us move forward. So I think in tandem with the government, who heavily weighted now on building key facilities, because facilities form one of the key pillars in ensuring that you advance sport, because you require persons to be able to have the requisite halls and so on. Through the Ministry of Health and the National Physiotherapy Association and Sports Clinic, we've also now instituting a pre-screening for athletes. And this is quite groundbreaking. It basically looks at ensuring that athletes are basically, first of all, assessed to ensure that they have the requisite muscle development in the key areas, where their agility is, where their coordination is, where their explosive jump is in terms of reaction and speed. And sport-specific training could be administered, if there's any deficiency from a muscle standpoint, from endurance, and it extends even to nutrition and the key science of the game in terms of calorie loading, dietary positions, B complex, because a lot of times athletes, and I can experience this and share this with you, we didn't have the exposure. We went to a tournament, we ate something, we played well the morning, the afternoon. You don't know between the time you play how much rest you should get, what diet you should have. You feel a little flat the afternoon, you didn't play to your maximum potential. You don't know why. The necessary recovery, ensuring that our athletes also are very conscious of what they put into their bodies, that they understand that also taking care of their bodies is a key element of, is a key element of, is a key element of their athletics career, and that we build the requisite systems to help them along that line. Additionally, working with the IOC to look at what programs they have, and in this regard, we've already started to tap into key programs they have in terms of allowing our coaches in different sports disciplines to go to key institutions and train. The University of Delaware, we just had a coach graduate from there in weightlifting. It's a Dion Nurse. So we have another coach, Joel Allen, who's going there. He's doing physical conditioning. From tennis, we have a young coach, Kalika Fraser. She's going to do for tennis. Recently, we've engaged with China to see how we can have more athletes go there, and that's one of the key strategies, looking at a particular country, seeing where their strength lies in this requisite sports discipline, and then seeing if we can establish a memorandum of understanding and agreements that provides the opportunity for athletes to go ahead. But I think I said enough, and I still have more to say. Yeah. I'll give you a chance. Yes.
Most sports fans, though, when looking at games, Olympic Games or Commonwealth Games or Pan American Games or what have you, they're glued to the television when it's track and field. How many track and field athletes we sending to France? Are we sending any?
Yes, I think we haven't finalized, because the Athletics Association the final cutoff date for qualification for that is the 30th of June. The Athletics Association has its national championships, and then the Allianz Pompey Invitational, which is also a continental event which allows athletes across the region to be able to participate and qualify. But I think, so we're still waiting on those events. Some athletes have ventured out to the World Relays and other qualification events. But so far, we believe Emmanuel Archibald will be one, Aliyah Moore, and we'll wait on the trials to see which other athletes will make the qualification mark. I should say, however, this year World Athletics have set a very, very high standard for the qualification event. It doesn't say that because you don't meet the qualification mark, but I think after the 30th we'll be able to know what quota of athletes from the athletics realm we'll have. Because I'll just explain this to you. What's happened is that the qualification mark set, let's say for the 100 meters and even the 400 meters, was so high that in the year from the qualification, well, from last year, from the qualification period, only a small group of athletes have made it, which means they'll have to rely on the world ranking of the athletes. And we believe in this regard that we'll get much more athletes coming through. But for athletics, we particularly have to wait until the 30th to see what complement of athletes we'll have in that regard. For swimming, they have universalities places in swimming, so we have two athletes. They're already named, Raekwon Noel and Lika Prasad. For boxers, we're waiting to see for the tripartite application, also for table tennis and but athletics, indeed, as you said, represents one of the key sports that and we have a good athlete in who've reached world championship finals in Emmanuel Archibald, and I think he's looking to peak in that regard. He'll give a good account of himself, even at the Olympic level, because but so far he hasn't attained the qualification mark, but based on world rank, he'll be a qualifier.
Okay. Now, how are the athletes being prepared for the Olympics? I know the Olympics Committee have set extremely high standards for athletes. This means that disqualifications, if they don't make it 100 meters or 200 meters or whatever, 400 meters, within the time span, you cannot be qualified to be go to the Olympics. But how are the athletes prepared for those type of trials?
So recent, most of the athletes, well, I won't say most of them. Like I said, we have a good junior nucleus of athletes. Some that are doing a lot of world leading times at on the 20, on the 18, on the 16 level. But at the senior level, which represents those that will participate in the summer games or prospects for the summer games, we from the Olympic Committee provide a stipend, a grant, to help them and maintain a system and regimen of training. Is not, I wouldn't say it's fully adequate as yet. That's why we're looking to see how we can increase that and how do we administer our resources in that regard. There's another tier of athletes, and this is across all disciplines, that receive also different gradients of money from $200 right up to $700 that we provide to help them to offset either nutritional or training support, whether it's payment of a coach. But a lot of the athletes also engage, well, some of them are in college. Emmanuel Archibald is in Jamaica. He's training there. There's several other ones from the athletic realm. In table tennis, we've had Chelsea Agel, who played in Germany and played in the semi-professional league. Recently, the boxers, we would send them to either Cuba through the National Boxing Association. They went to Ecuador before going to Thailand for the Olympic qualification event. Similarly, in badminton and the other sports disciplines, we from the Olympic Committee would support them and those athletes in maintaining a system and regimen of training and at least going to the qualification events that they would have to either qualify for even the Olympics or even outside of the Olympic Games, Commonwealth, Pan Am, CSC, South America, among other things. Well, like I said, critical investment is being made right now, ensuring that those platforms that we assess truly where we are after this quadrennial 2024, this summer games, and then to look at what is required, which are the athletes that we select and support. what type of support we'll provide, and whether the model that we currently have in place is working for us or it needs tweaking. I truly believe it needs tweaking. And how do we garner more support to support them along the lines of achieving Olympic qualification or Olympic cycle games qualification in addition, because most of the games, because of the cost of games, that's why the standards have set. So most of the games are shrinking the quantum of athletes before. So before, when you had maybe 6 or something athletes in the 100 meters, now you just have a position of 40, 48, that will line up for the different heats and so on, in the different categories, whether it's 400, 200, 400, 800, and so on, because most federations are saying, look, we can't, and most hosts are saying we can't afford the big bloated games. So it's a global sport in arms race, and Guyana as a key player, we have to adapt. I believe that we have the athletes with the potential to really succeed. Like I've said, we've been making the investments. Only recently, and this is through the collaboration that we've had with the ministry working, because this is the first time that we have a quite harmonious relationship with the ministry. They brought in 3 coaches from the US that are working with our junior and intermediate athletes, which will be the prospects of 2028. I believe that's when we'll have a greater nucleus of athletes, because these investments that are being made now will see its fruits later on. Not to discard any athlete who will be participating in them, but there's young Tiana Springer, who is running the lead times at under 20 level, and she's going to the athletics championships in Colombia in July. 7 other athletes, Malachi Moore, young McPherson, and 7 other athletes at that realm. So what we've had is a challenge between transitioning our athletes from the junior realm, because we've had good performances there, and then the extra additional support that is needed. But I think now, like I said, that's why I view my role as very critical. It's ensuring that we work to ensure that we explore all the opportunities, and forums like yours truly provides the opportunity for us to discuss frankly, pragmatically, about what is required, and so that we could have all hands on deck seeking to move sport. But the national pride that it brings, and as I said, the global sport in arms, really, because now we compete among nations in sports, and the national pride and patriotism that it brings, is unlike any other feeling that you could get, when somebody's competing and they do well, or even if they're participating, representing your country, you're happy to share with that and to support that. I should say at the Pan Am level, we've had 3 medals in the last Pan Am Games, which is the most by any. South American level, we're still competitive. Win a lot of medals there. CSE, but lots of work is being done to ensure that we support and create those structures and systems.
Jamaica has won several medals: gold, silver, bronze. Grenada, I think, has won a gold I think it was a 400 meter or 800 meter distance. Trinidad has won gold. Bahamas, I think they have not won gold, but they have won silver and bronze and so forth. But why is Guyana can't even bring home a bronze medal? In the I think Guyana had a silver medal way back in the 60s. Am I right? From a boxing?
Yes, a bronze medal, bronze medal by Mr. Michael Paris in the Russian games. That's been our only Olympic medal. And strangely, in boxing, I saw the president of the Boxing Association, Mr. Ninva, who's director of sport, saying that's the only medal in the English-speaking Caribbean that we've had. I think Caribbean governments also have to look at, and this includes all of us, in the investment in sports. I believe the current government understands that, because, when you see the allocation that is made, when you see, the collaboration that we've had, associations are now getting much more support to send their national teams abroad. Athletes are getting more scholarships and support for scholarships and support for training. The whole coaches coming in and being supported. From the Olympic side, we are also working in tandem with the ministry and ensuring that, as they build the facilities and so on, that we also build the structures and systems, that we support competitions, we support developmental projects to help things, we support training of coaches, we support training of athletes, we provide the support for the athletes to maintain a system, financial and otherwise. But more investment is needed from the corporate side also to help athletes, and that's why I said our plan is also to leverage the Olympic Committee and the brand to tell sponsors, look, this is the resources we got or we get. Here's how we expend it. Here are the gaps. Here are the programs that you can support. Here are the athletes you can support. And you'll see that coming out from as soon as about August or September of this year, because we already commenced the strategic plan. Mr. Laurent Torricellas will be in Guyana in this month, working with all the federations and their heads to look at where the training needs are, training gaps are, how they're administering their programs, what talent identification systems they have, how do we as Olympic Committee support them, what type of framework and structure we ensure that they have for the governance model, so that, because good governance is a key aspect of ensuring that you realize potential. But to compare what is happening in the region as against what the Jamaican model has been really great for athletics. I know from the Ministry of Education side, working with Minister Manik Chan, that she sent a team from the Allied Arts to look at what they're doing in Jamaica. Like I said, we're also engaging with Paro from Sports Canada to look at the foundational side of movement and fundamentals of movement for youngsters, so that we could have much more athletes coming up and developing the right psychomotor skills and at the age that they're more adaptive, to ensure that because sports now, as you said, is scientific. It's not just you see that even athletes that are not as talented as ours, once they go through a system and structure, what happens, and those systems and structures, whether it's either muscle development, transition knowledge in terms of coaching expertise and development, support financial, the training regimens that are adopted, the nutritional stuff, the sports and recovery side of it, in terms of care of the body and so on, what type of competitions and periodization and adaptation to training are all essential elements that are necessary to ensure that, one, you have the athletes realize their potential, and two, that you achieve the Olympic qualification and medal that we so long for, because we're competing against systems, truly. And if you don't have the requisite systems and structures, then it's tough for your athletes to just do it on talent alone. And then there's the aspects of finances. But I can tell the viewers and yourself that we're committed. We're not only talking this talk, we actually start and commence the programs. We working with the University of Guyana. We've started the pre-screening. We've already started to ensure that our affiliate members take opportunities, and we apply for this sports coaching grants that are available, scholarship for athletes, and supporting our associations to send their athletes to key competitions, and providing also administrative grants to national federations and associations to help them to develop their programs and to improve their systems and structure. So those are some of the key aspects of what we're seeking to do. And as I also said, is looking at some key partners and so on. One of the key things that we're also looking for is an equipment sponsor for the National Olympic Committee. And in this regard, we have on target, we've got a proposal that we'll be engaging some of the key equipment sponsors in this regard. And also engaging with our some of the stronger nations as it relates to providing opportunities for athletes and coaches to train in their environment. I believe those are the things will help to catapult us in a direction, and those investments are being made. So I'll give you the commitment that come 2028, even as we look forward to our athletes' participation in 2024 in Paris, because this is the reward games. It'll be one of the biggest games since COVID, and they're calling it the reward games. 2028 will be a key year for Guyana. You'll see a lot of our young, talented athletes transitioning, and I believe our medal hopefuls are in that cadre of athletes as we because of the investment we made now.
So you're saying 2028 is going to be our year, but
Yeah.
Some of our listeners who have responded to me here tell me that they are very happy to learn that the government is involved in helping athletes in training and so forth, providing resources, etc., etc. Now, are there adequate training facilities in Guyana? I know there's a track and field track somewhere in Lenore, am I right?
Yes.
Is there any other run vicinity here? Is there any lawn tennis courts? Are there lawn tennis courts where people can practice? Are there regional track and field areas where people can not travel to Lenore but stay in their respective communities or regions and practice there and then get into regional sports, and that's how they'll meet? Are there training facilities around the country?
So as I said initially, those facilities outside of the Lenora track and so on were not available. We had the gymnasium, the National Sports Hall, Cliff Anderson Sports Hall, the National Aquatic Center, and so on. But that's why I'm not saying, but I'm saying yes, there's investment being made now, in the context of there's a stadium being built in Linden, in Riz Rock. There's one being built and this is a track and field facility in Borbies, New Amsterdam. There's also one being built in Albion and in Palmyra. Through the government, there's also facilities being built in all three regions, which would be huge indoor facilities, and this is a collaboration with the government of China. The Tennis Association, which is lawn tennis as we know it, they recently had a national center at Wolford Avenue, which is a racket center. They've just invested also in a squash court, an extension of this national squash court, because before it was only private squash courts. They've done this now, and we've now got the only double squash court in Guyana. So that's under construction, it's near completion. There's a home being built for table tennis at Wolford Avenue, and several other indoor facilities are on the tables to be built in Linden, in Borbies, and other regions. So before, no. Now, yes, those investments are being made because facilities are critical, and we're happy from the Olympic side and even as affiliate members to ensure that we have facilities for our athletes, because accessibility is critical. Equity also across the country is also critical, and to ensure that the talented, because before a lot of things were centered Georgetown, but we would know that a lot of the key sprinters comes from Linden and even Borbies. You could have a lot of distance runners from East Bank and so on, and they always say when you provide the facility, you never know where the talent will emerge, again, structures and systems. I'm happy to say that we are on that trajectory. Those investments are being made, and in tandem with government or affiliate members and the private sector. I believe that's why I started by saying this is like a very key opportunity for us to lay the correct foundation for things to be sustainable and to achieve our best goals and performance in the future. And 2028 would be, to me, the start of that. But that investment has to be made now to achieve those results in the future. Before, that was not done, and I could understand why, because there was key priorities between resources and other factors, whether there was a commitment to or not, and so on. But I can sit with you here and said, yes, those investments are being made, and we're advocating to ensure that we work together with government, with our affiliates and corporate entities and other agencies and embassies and groups and partners to ensure that sports is supported and achieves its rightful place, and that our athletes are given the best possible support that is required to have them excel.
Folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be taking a minute or two break. We'll be right back with you. Please stay tuned. Thank you.
Yes, Guyana to the world.
Globespan is a Guyanese dialogue moving towards the realization of one nation in one Guyana. It's a platform that offers an all-inclusive discussion with the pros, the cons, the ones that is taken aside, and the ones that stand in the middle. Globespan believes agreeing and disagreeing are part of the nation's building.
She is a beauty, beautiful Guyana, with wonderful people all over this country.
Globespan believes every Guyanese voice is part of the nation's building. As we span the globe for voices from the diaspora and those living home, we stand on our commitment that we are all Guyanese working towards one nation in one Guyana. As the world turns on its axis bringing changes, we as Guyanese must adapt to those changes for a better Guyana for all. Globespan stands on its axis with its belief that one nation, one Guyana, one destiny must include voices from all corners of Guyana.
With many flavor, 6 different people blended together. Raise your flag high in unity, we're family with one destiny. Raise your flag high in unity, we're
Welcome back to Globespan Television, and thanks for staying with us. Now, we'll continue our discussion. It's a very important topic, sports in Guyana, and it's been never discussed or flushed out this way as Mr. Monroe is putting it to us now. He is the president of the Guyana Olympic Association, and we're very happy to have him here tonight. So you'll learn a lot more to come in the next 45 minutes or so. Please stay tuned. Now, Mr. Monroe, if you were to advise or recommend to the government what should be done to enhance sports in Guyana at all levels, but more so in track and field, because that's where the census or most people are tuned into. What would be your recommendation in terms of resources, in terms of facilities, in terms of training, and et cetera, et cetera?
Right. So I believe those investments are being made currently. However, I think a key gap that is not being exploited but hasn't come to fruition as yet is the support for helping athletes. Like I'm saying, there is assistance that the government do provide to a group and nucleus of athletes have shown the potential. We do it also from the Olympic side, but I believe a lot more support is needed, because I started to say, well, how much it requires to do for an Olympic medal. And when we said in a quadrennial, over 124,000 US dollars, I think that was the last study that the UK did within, and when they qualify and look at how much each medal cost, I think it was there about 124 to 224,000 US dollars per athlete. I don't think we are making that investment. Not that we need to, because there's other methods and way of going around it, and your talent pool and so on. I would say that's one area, however, that we have to do. We have to start to create a more focused approach to supporting those athletes that have the prospects um, for high performance and provide more. I think the government is already making the inputs and investment in key facilities. I think that is a key, a good direction that we're moving in. We have to also invest in our coaches, because most of our coaches are part-time coaches, so we have to invest in their coaching, their welfare, and their academia in terms of transitioning in knowledge. We have to be able to send them to other countries to see their methods, work with other coaches that have produced and so on, and so on. Coaching is a key element in this regard. We have to improve the science in which we engage our athletes with, and this I'm speaking about their nutrition, their muscle and other developments, and looking at the finer science of how you can improve performance, blood assessments and analysis to see, under fatigue, what type of lactic acid is being lost, and how persons are reacting, where their muscle development is low, how the athlete's regimen of training, how we can measure performance. So when we start to periodize model of investment at the level of our nursery programs, and I think that is being done through the core sport, but more investment, more coaches, more, so that we have a huge and larger nucleus of athletes that are coming through. One of the key elements that is a little inhibited to our sports development, but I think this is being addressed by our education minister, is this grade 6, national grade 6 assessment. And I could tell you from my experience working in table tennis is that when you start, because we start from the cadet programs, and most of the federations have that, a cadet program that starts the athlete between 6 to about 9 years old. When the athlete reach 9 years old, most parents would tell you, Dr. Rose is not playing anymore. He's gonna play until he finishes exams. So you lose that athlete in an age that is much adaptive to their key growth sport for 2 years, so we have to do some reorientation in terms of how we treat with the academia relative to sporting excellence, either through specialized pathways or an adjustment in the academic system that allows athletes to pursue more full-time situation. And this is right through to the university level. At the Sir Potter College of Education, the more infusion of physical education teachers, and I think this is being addressed again at the ministry level, because I work substantively at Ministry of Education, and that's why the Sports Canada program is something that you'll see unfolding shortly through UNICEF, Ministry of Education, the Olympic Committee, and the Ministry of Sports. That will bring in an expert, but that is another area that we might take for granted. But if we don't have the amount of physical education teachers and the academic norms working with athletes and students from a young age, developing them the right physical attributes and mental attitudes and so on, then the culture is not developed. The muscle development is not developed. The resistance is not developed. So the prospects for high performance is reduced. So that's another area. And even at the CPC level, we were discussing is that we have to create career pathways for physical education teachers to be able to move through the system. So you have a system and structure through regional system. So just like how in athletics, there's the district system in Guyana, where there's inter-house competition, which is a school-based competition, then the inter-school competition, then your zonal competition, then your national competition. More resources have to be infused into that to ensure that our best talents are coming forward, that they have the opportunities. Additionally, supporting the national federations, which is being done, but I'm saying that maybe more investment in this regard to ensure that you attract the right group of persons, and that associations are supported so that they could administer their programs in a more effective and efficient manner, and that the governance systems that lends to supporting that is doing. So I would think those are some of the key areas, but I would say primarily our investment in coaching, our investment in the facilities which are being done, our investment in our athletes with the prospects and potential for thing. And this has to be done over a lengthy time. We can't wait 2 years to do this. We have to look at the next group of athletes that we're catering for 2028. The next, and then even as we cater for those 2028 athletes, we have the next system of athletes that go to 2032, so that there is a system or that continues to churn out and that they're supported along the lines. Most systems within and successful countries have that. Additionally, the support for athletes to say, look, after a career of sports, that there's an incentive that supports you, and recognize the efforts and so on, because this new argument is coming to the fore even at the Olympic level when you see the World IAFF is saying we are playing all medalists in financial reward, and the argument is that we cannot treat sports as amateur anymore because people are investing, they're sacrificing their time, and if they're not earning to commensurate with that, then you're setting them up for long-term failure in life. So the system is holistic because sports is an industry, and there's the manufacturing, there's sports tourism, there's the whole nutrition science and the dietitians and so on. And I think we have to look at it in that context. I believe there's a key understanding by government and our new Minister of Sport, and like I said, across the board, this knowledge is staying. Before we didn't have the resources to do that. We now have it, but it's critical that we put our heads down and ensure that those systems and structures are in place. And I believe this is happening now.
Okay. Now, you mentioned schools, but as you know, to be successful in anything you do, but I'll deal with athletes. The coaches have to be experienced and they have to be devoted to what they're doing. The athletes have to be devoted to their games, whatever sports they embarked upon. But have you seen this in Guyana among athletes and coaches? When I say devotion, make sacrifices. Not a 16-year-old want to go and party and sacrificing or training and so forth, or his or training and so forth. But have you seen the sacrifices? Have you seen the dedication? Have you seen the devotion among athletes and coaches?
I could say in some degree, yes. However, it needs to be more massified. Again, because of the underinvestment, there has been apprehension in some dimension for some parents to have their kids involved in sports, and then there's a regular saying that, if you keep playing sports, I don't know what it's gonna amount to and all that type of stuff. But I can say, as an athlete, that sports has been of tremendous value to me. I can say that the exposure that it provided is invaluable. I don't think incomparable to any other, even university education that I received. The ability to travel, the ability to network and meet with people, the exposure that it provided, the molding that it provided, because some of the key applications of your life skills are developed in sport. So I'm saying this to say that before, a lot of persons, like even as we said, the grade 6 parents would be saying, well, maybe there's not the key incentives to put you in sport. But I think it's a lifelong learned skill that you're developing. Imagine when you're 50 years old that you could still pick up some friends and go and play some tennis, play some basketball, It helps in your longevity and expanding your life and so on. For those athletes, for those who will meet the Olympic and other level, the opportunity to earn and so on is now becoming more available and pronounced. And I would want to say, even to athletes, look, our young broad prospects, you know, if you're involved, put your best foot forward, maximize and apply yourself to the maximum. Don't listen to persons who might say that, this can't be achieved or the obstacles and all that type of stuff. When you listen to Usain Bolt, he didn't overnight, turn a success. He had many, pitfalls along the way. And that's what we have to ingrain. And as I said, there are a nucleus of athletes that have demonstrated that, but we need a much vast amount of those to be replicated. And that begins with ensuring that, one, that we provide the incentives to them, the competitions, the training, the competition for the training for the coaches too, so that the coaches who are the molders of those minds could infuse the requisite attributes to them to succeed and to gain the necessary skills that are required to be good citizens, to be good athletes, and to perform at the highest level.
Do you think the schools, especially secondary schools, are doing enough to advance athletes in sports? Normally, I know in the United States and I know in Canada and many other countries, schools have athletic coaches, athletic teachers, and so forth to train the children and so forth. I say this to tell you that, look, if you look at Venus and Serena Williams, they dominated tennis for over 2 decades. But when you look at how they started out, Serena was 4 years old, Venus was 5.5 years old, and the father started them on a rigorous training in the mornings and so forth. And this continues in schools and throughout, and they became successful. You mentioned Usain Bolt. I read in a book someone wrote about him, where his father said at age 4, he was running faster than kids who were 6 and 7 years old, because he was always running around the block by himself and run and so forth. So it starts at a very early age. Is this the case in Guyana?
Right. So before, we've had peaks and troughs in how, we've created system structure and so on. Right now, I can say to you, those things are being instituted from the ministry level. The Minister of Education have instituted a policy that each school, each person at the secondary level must play a sport, must play a musical instrument, and must do a foreign language. So that's ensuring one. At this primary level, that is also being replicated, because the need and the critical importance of that is recognized. To supplement that, what is being done through national federations and so on is that coaches are being engaged to work with schools in coordinating, coaching in different sports disciplines. This is a new initiative. Before, in the past, I think when I went to school, we had physical education teachers. We were exposed to a lot of sport, but again, over time, there was a derailing of that process. But now I can say yes, it's a new policy of the Ministry of Education, and it's brought tremendous support to us. I'll just give you an example in table tennis. There's coaches in Region 3. Mr. Moniram Prasad, Mr. Joey Lovell. In Linden, we're hiring a coach, Marlon Washington. In Region 2 also. In Borbies, there are 2 coaches, there's Osafa De Santos and Mr. Gibran Hussein. Gibran is working with the students along the quarantine corridor. Osafa is working with those in the district between New Amsterdam and Rose Hall area. This is being replicated on other sports disciplines. But like I said, so there's an understanding of that. At the nursery level is where we have to look more particularly at developing the non-academic norms and the long-term athlete development systems for how we engage young learners, the nursery level students, in the fundamentals of movement and skills, so that when they transition to the primary level, where we're looking now to say, well, okay, Dr. Rose is 6, looks like he has a great growth sports, he might be a better basketball player or a high jumper, or maybe we can use him as a swimmer, and he has that inclination, then we could do that specialization. Those are some of the systems and structure that goes into how key nations are now recruiting, investing, and supporting key athletes. But again, I said, it begins with the systems, and now we have the opportunity to do that, and I believe those inputs are being made as we speak, because I'm part of it. We're engaging with Mr. Wayne Paro. I spoke to the head of UNICEF. He's quite in tune with this. Minister Manichan is also in tune with this from the sports side. So for the nursery level, we look at that, but more sustainably, we'll have to look at CPC and how we develop those systems to now ensure that outside of the coach's intervention in the different disciplines and so on, how do we infuse our schools with physical education teachers, sports coordinators, and things of that nature to help coordinate, develop sport and the systems and structure. It requires a whole system that works to produce this end product as we know it.
Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but several Africa is known for marathon runners. When it comes to 10 mile, 15 mile, 18 miles, you can't beat the African runners. But now they've been advancing in sprints. Several African countries, and I'll call names of a few: South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Ethiopia. They have sent athletic emissaries to Jamaica, because Jamaica is a mecca for athletics in 100 meters, 200 meters, 300, 400 meters, and relays. Plus, the Japanese have got emissaries down there, as well as a couple of other countries, to study how Jamaica is training their athletes to be so fast on the tracks. Do you ever think about that, to see if athletes from Guyana or trainers from Guyana can go down there to look at the process that the Jamaicans are doing in order to help their athletes back home?
Right. So I believe privately and otherwise, yes. We at the Olympic Committee have supported even one guy, Willem Cameron, in studying at Mona College, doing the same type of kinetic and kinesiology type of training, does looking at the whole body movement, strength and so on, balance and coordination, agility and so on. So we're making an investment there. The ministry recently sent some persons from the arts unit to look at that. I think that suggestion is something that more and more we have to send a greater number of a nucleus of coaches. But I'll also say at the junior level, we've got great coaches. There's Mark Scott, who's working with Tiana Springer and some other athletes. Tiana Springer, as we know, is a world leader now that is doing tremendously. We got Julian Edmonds, who's also a great coach. Johnny Graves-Andy, Moses Pantles, and so on. I believe we just need to provide the necessary ingredients and support financially and otherwise for these athletes, for these coaches to be able to, as you said, even go to there, see how those methods are being used and how maybe they can, make it more more adaptive to our environment in terms of their methods and so on. Those are things that are great suggestions. And I believe that is basically occurring right now, but a lot more that could be supported in that direction. And we're taking those steps. I've been speaking with the Brazilian Olympic Committee to look at some of the key sports and how we can have partnerships with them. Mr. Samuda from Jamaica, we look at how we can do exchanges. But again, all this revolves around the funding provisions, how we get the necessary funding to do it, how we prioritize, because our model has been one from the Olympic side of trying to ensure that we keep everybody supported. Maybe in the future we'll have to look at either expanding, and we've started to do that by tapping into more grants, but also saying, look, maybe we can, if we're doing a 60-40 split in terms of developmental work, 60% of the budget and 40% to high performance, maybe we reverse it. We do some more support for high performance with a greater nucleus of the budget, because as you know, high performance sucks up most of your budget because it's much more expensive. Some of the other things I should share with you that we're looking at is tapping into the diaspora as it relates to looking for athletes who might want to represent Guyana. I was discussing with the ambassador of China to look at, there's Chinese living in Guyana with persons who might be in China. They have a great table tennis program. If we can infuse some players from China into Guyana, that helps to raise our level and also give us the international standing, even in the winter dynamics of the Olympic cycle games. And this extends to the other sports disciplines. They might not be good enough at that level, but working through those systems and so on. I can say athletics have been getting a lot of scholarships through the collegiate system, but I'm not sure if that has been producing a lot for us. I know Jamaica don't send a lot of their key and top athletes to the college system. And if you see even in the US, the top college athletes don't necessarily transition to the top world beaters. But those are some of the things that we're also looking at to implement as part of helping our prospects in the Olympic cycle and the sporting realm.
How effective are inter-school sports? Because it has always been there. Are they advancing athletes into school and into region sports? How often is it being conducted in Guyana, and how effective are these?
Right. So a very good question. I think there's now a new consensus to relook at the model, because I think initially in its construct, well, not initially, in its current construct, there's a whole belief, if you compare it to the Jamaican model, the Jamaican model is a by time selection to the national championship, and it's a by school. And our model is by school, by zone, by region. However, what happens in our model is that you and I might be going to school, to the same school. In the 100 meters, I might be running 10.5 and I won the race. You run 10.4, you got second. And then our other colleague ran some other event. Only the two of us could advance to participate in the inter-schools individual 100 meter. The other two outside of us cannot, even if their time were as good as. What happened is that the other schools, we might go to the inter-school, win that division, win that competition. It means another group of athletes are dropped out of the system, because we might race against athletes in the inter-school competition that only ran, let's say, 10:30, which means our third and fourth place athletes could have beat them. They're much better. So it's a system that in some dimension is leaving some athletes through the crack. However, I was speaking with the persons from AAG and even the education ministry. There's a new approach to address that situation, to start doing talent spotting and scouting from the inter-house level and doing it time-based, and also looking at a separation in between the athlete, the divisions from nursery to primary as one separate national championships, and have the secondary and tertiary separate by itself, so that you have the developmental side coming through, which is your core and your nucleus core athletes from, let's say, 5 years old or 4 years old to 11 years old. And then you have that transition from 11 to right up to probably 20 years old. Hopefully that could be implemented quickly, because it will help to capture a lot of the talent within, and then put them in clubs, put them in training programs that, allow to nurture them. Additionally, as you spoke about, this has to also be replicated across the sport, because our national school championships only encapsulates swimming, cycling, athletics. I know football now, soccer is pushing to have their sport integrated into the national schools championships. Table tennis is seeking to do that, and several other sports are building out their sports program to allow that to happen. What that allows for is the integration of that into the regional system, where competitions could be held in between the schools. The region now has to make budgetary application. Your regional champions could be crowned individually. So even if I don't make it to the national level, as a hometown boy in Region 3, I could be crowned the under 15 champion, and there's recognition and accolades to that could help to motivate me to continue in the discipline and working towards that. So those are not tiers and structures of what. But currently not in existence in our current structure. Yes, the school sports is one that is supported, funded by the GTU and supported by the Ministry of Education. But I think we can improve a lot more on how we coordinate it, how we address it, and I gave a few of those examples in the past. So yes, that's an area that can be addressed, because it's critical to nurturing and building those systems and structure, and also providing the environment for the athletes to grow.
You can help me out here. I got a text from one of our listeners. They said, Dr. Rose, please don't put Barbados down. We had 1 silver and 1 bronze in Olympics.
Definitely. I think it was World Championships.
They said Olympics.
I think Olympics, they had a girl that I think she got a silver medal in 800. I think so.
And they said they had 1 bronze.
Yes, I think I'm not sure Omadeli Thompson, who was a sprinter. Yeah, but I think they do have probably 2 medals. Yeah. So yes, not to discredit. Barbados in the house. Yeah.
So please don't discredit us.
Oh, and we share a good working relationship at the Olympic level with the Barbados committee.
Yes, you have to be involved.
Yeah. Osborne is a good ally to us.
But go ahead.
No, and like I'm saying also, that we're tapping in a lot into working with our key partners from Odasur, which is Latin America, working with our Canadian counterparts. We're looking at the Commonwealth Games Federation, because they have several projects, and like I said, Equip is one that we were able to hire in turn. We're looking at the sport program, Game Changers, and they have another one that GAPS. The GAPS is for the differently able athletes. That's another area that we're focusing some attention on, to ensure that we provide opportunities for those who are differently able. And from the 8th of June, one of our table tennis players, a para champion, Gibran Hussein, will be going to Birmingham to participate in a training camp through Commonwealth Games Federation. along with several athletes from the region and in the Commonwealth who were possible Olympic prospects. And then he headed across the Czech Republic to participate in an Olympic, Paralympic qualification event. So that's another area that is of key focus to us in ensuring that we provide support. And as part of our mandate through Commonwealth Federation, ensuring that our indigenous brothers and sisters, so the incorporation of ensuring access to sports to our indigenous brothers and so on, are key input provided by all the national affiliates. I should also say that we've had also engagements with the University of Guyana in crafting their sports policy that they're currently doing. I know Dr. Mohammed is doing a lot of work in there. They've got some significant investment as it relates to a facility being built on the tarmac there now. It's now enclosed. It'll become all weather. So they'll be able to practice a lot of sports. From the Olympic side, we've engaged with our affiliate members to provide support in terms of equipment, training, coordination to their sports clubs and sports faculty so that we can start to develop back UG's sports program. Like I said, that's a key area in terms of building a nucleus of persons who will support and help to administer sport. So all in all, lots of work being done, working assiduously. Like I said, we have a great team, and this has been exciting times. And yes, I know Guyana will be represented at the Olympics. You know, I think our athletes always give up their best. Emmanuel Archibald is one to look for. I think he's one of our shining prospects in the 100-meter sprints, and he also does long jump. Aliyah Moore, our sister Jasmine, and we wait on whether we'll have a greater number of athletes who will qualify through the athletics realm, and even our boxers, hopeful that they'll get the tripartite, and table tennis players get the tripartite allocation.
Good. I just wanted listeners to know that I wasn't selling Barbados short. I did mention that I think Barbados got one medal because I did the research and it told me one medal, but it didn't say what. So maybe it's a silver and a bronze.
Doc, I feel like you want to really interrogate thing, yeah, but I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they might be right, or you might be right. I'm not sure, but I think yes.
Well, no, because I just said maybe one. But I just want to let the listeners know that I congratulate Barbados. That's very, very good. Now, the next question is for you. Private sector, are they supporting you, the big corporations, Gaisuku, Banks DIH, DDL? Are you getting support from these big companies and some mini companies too? Are they supporting you?
So it's a twofold situation, but like I said, when I want to be as pragmatic as because we have to put it on the table. I don't think and believe that our corporate bodies are supporting us as they could and should. But I think there's a caveat to that in the context of, like I was saying to some of our affiliate members and even our executives, a lot of times I think even when I was speaking with you the other morning, I was telling you that I think sometimes from the sporting perspective, we think that, okay, you know, that sports is something that companies should be doing CSR and they should look to invest in it. And we don't put forward our proposals and programs, and we expect these corporations to do that. In more advanced countries, sometimes you don't have to do that. And from the simplest of business I see, even in Chile, we're a manufacturer of sandwiches. You know, we're putting an athlete that they're sponsoring on the wrap for that sandwich, you know, on the bread loaf, and on the tin that they're selling paint, and, you know, in the flakes or something that, you know, the athletes is displayed there on the juices and that type of stuff in the promotional activities. But I'm saying this to say that even as we move forward, there's need for us to also look at the policies as we look at local content. You know, how do we ensure that our, new investment partners contribute more to their social responsibility and helping our athletes develop, whether in supporting. And here's where we see ourselves as a good lever, and we'll have to put forward those proposals to those companies and corporations and businesses. Um, so I think twofold, but to answer the question directly, much more could be done from the corporate side in terms of looking at the more long-term relationships and investment. I think from this perspective now, it's more donation based. There are some key companies that can say that do their lot, and but I think we have a great pool of corporate entities that could come on board and help to support and bridge that gap in terms of helping our athletes to succeed moving forward. So that's a key area that needs a lot of inputs and investment, and also the incentive for those companies to want to partner. So I think the framework are there. It needs to be activated, and that's one of our key positions and plan to engage with the private sector commission and the chambers of commerce and some of our key partners and business organizations.
Guyana is now considered the oil capital in the Western Hemisphere. That's what they say. I don't know. Have you contacted the oil conglomerates, Exxon, ConocoPhillips, and all these guys who are here extracting oil? And so have you made contact with them for help?
So one of the key things, because I can say recently, this is wearing a different hat, we've engaged with CNOC, who is one of the oil investment companies. And I'm giving a backdrop to answer the question. They've invested, over $4 million in table tennis, in providing a regional school championship for each region across Guyana. With the exception of region 1, 8, and 9, what we've decided we'll do for those regions is procure tables and provide coaching support for those regions with novices competition. This again is building a frame for our introduction into orientation into the national championships. I'm saying this to say that when we engage with CNOC, what we found is that there's a rigid process of how these companies want you to apply for the funding. And you see the merit in it because they're long-term partnerships. They approach sponsorship from a different element. They want to ensure that what they're doing is aligned with their corporate goals and outlook and mission and vision and all that type of stuff. In our realm, I think in the sporting realm, we have to do some work. One, from the Olympic Committee side, is to ensure that we put our frames in terms of what is it that we want to have supported. Provide the transparency to say, good, this is the amount of support. We get from Olympic Solidarity $120,000 US in administrative grant. We get $50,000 for athlete support. We get $170,000 for team preparation and games preparation and support and participation. We get so much for coaching support. So when you put that on the table and then we work with our affiliates, we said, okay, good. What is your plans for the year? Who are the athletes that you're supporting? Then we say, okay, we can only support you here. Here's where the gap analysis will come into play to say, okay, good. We cannot support you, these athletes, but here are the programs we would want you to do. And those programs could be developmental in nature, either building a nucleus of athletes, or for the sports that have the prospects for Olympic qualification, Olympic excellence, and Olympic cycle games performance and excellence. You can support athlete Y, you can support athletes X, and here is what we'll do to ensure that is done. Also, visibility, ensuring that our athletes are recognized and the billboards on, our key products and so on, our phone cards, our modems, become household names. So it creates the incentives for persons to want to participate in sport. And to create the role models which we critically need. So it's a process. But yes, some work to be done on our side, but also but we have engagement planned with corporate groups to look at it. We've also been looking at a model which is a pitch for our equipment sponsor to say, look, if you support the Guyana Olympic teams to Olympic Games, and we've worked out a framework to say over the quadrennial we'll attend X amount of games, so much exposure internationally, based on team size calculator, then this is what we'll do. But we'll also create a store that allows persons to buy the equipment, whether it's Puma or Adidas or Nike or whatever. So those are some of the key business and revenue generation aspects that we're looking at. But corporate sponsorship is one of the key ones that we're keen on addressing and we'll be addressing in the short-term future.
We've come to the end of the program, Mr. Monroe, and you did an excellent job. Your closing remarks.
Well, I just want to say, Dr. Rose, thanks for the opportunity too. I want to assure all Guyanese and all persons listening on your platform that we're truly working to ensure that we create the systems and platforms and structures to ensure that our athletes could truly realize their potential. And this framework and systems that we speak about is from the grassroots level right through to achieving the elite levels. We've got a great team that is working. I can say that government is indeed also playing its role in part, and we've got a great relationship working with them. Lots of work to do on the corporate side and our revenue generation, our assisting our coaches, providing more resources to help athletes and so on, because a lot of times, funding is a key issue. But systematically, we're doing this, and look forward to a lot of things on the horizon as we push forward, and that Guyana will become a nation to be reckoned with in sports in the near future.
Thanks for being our guest, and thanks to our listeners. I hope you all learned a lot today about sports in Guyana, especially the Olympic team and training and everything else, conditioning of the body and everything else from Mr. Monroe. And thanks to all our sponsors. Without you, this program cannot be made available. And to Mr. Noir Singh, thanks to you, sir, and Devin Bissoon and Ryan Gobin, our two technical directors. And once again, our special thanks to you, Mr. Monroe, and to our listeners. Good night, and have a